right, everyone, you've got LeftEye E.G.O, and I am joined today by the Stuntman. I know you may be wondering, why does he actually have on a Dallas Cowboys hat and not his Heroes No Capes hat? It's because we're switching it up today, all right? We're doing a little bit of a sports ball sports cat. I have to let you guys know that we both live in the great state of Texas, and I originally got here when I was around 10 years old, and that was the height of Cowboys mania. I'm talking, it was the three-peat, the triplets, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmett Smith. So I came in at a great time to actually be a Cowboys fan. And for the last 27 years, I've been in the most abusive relationship of my life. All right. I can't
hmm
escape it. It's in the blood. The only lie I ever told my wife, Deshiro, who the stuntman knows, was that I wasn't going to watch Cowboy games when we first started dating. But that was because we had a very terrible year. And when Dak actually guided us to a decent record, all that went out the window. I watched every game that I could. But alas, the Super Bowl escapes our grasp. And so now I have to talk about it because it's building up inside of me and I can't take it anymore.
Every
So I have
year it
actually
reaches your glass.
every year is a meltdown of epic proportions, and it always happens on national TV. And bear in mind, I actually spent 12 years in Philadelphia. Do you know what it was like coming to class or going to work and everyone giving you the look when you lost to the Eagles, the
That's
Giants,
so funny.
or the Redskins when that's what they were called? It's embarrassing, okay?
That's
But I
great.
But I have to say that misery loves company right now because the stuntman is actually a Green Boys Packers fan. I know they're not doing too hot, so misery now has to invite company. And I have to ask stuntman, how is it that you're from San Antonio, you live in Houston, but you're a Green Bay Packers fan? Like, how the hell did that happen?
So, like you said, because I'm 40, so when I was growing up, the Cowboys were the team. It was America's team, man. They were back to back to back. They even had Dion at one point. You know, the great offensive line, and so like my stepfather, who I couldn't stand at the time, was a huge Cowboys fan. So I would watch and I'd watch the games and I'd see who he cheered against or who he hated. And I remember he would always say, "Man, I hate the Packers." So essentially, I became a Packers fan
You
just from
spite
him,
fan.
just to spite him. And you know what? And you know what? I hate to go on a rant right now, but
Go ahead. That's what we're here for.
you know what? The Packers, that was my team back in the '90s with Brett Favre, and now this guy is stealing from poor people. It makes me sick to my stomach.
That is fair.
Dude,
That is fair.
that
Very
is
fair.
the only pro football jersey I own and will probably ever own is a Brett Favre jersey, and I can't even wear that motherfucker anywhere.
Not with pride. Nope. You gotta wait till things get settled and someone
So
says an
terrible, man.
apology.
Gosh,
Yeah. So wait, so you've been a Packers fan since the Brett Favre era.
since Brett Favre, yeah, Reggie
It's
White, Brett Favre, Sterling Sharp,
Oh wow. Okay,
yeah,
so you go all the way back.
to the
That's
'90s,
fair.
yeah, early '90s, yeah,
Okay, so your fandom is warranted even though if it started in spite, you still
yeah.
stuck with them, and I will give you that.
I've stuck
So
with it.
now that you guys understand the relationships that we're in and how abusive they've been and how spiteful they've been, the way that we'll do it is we'll just go ahead and talk about three premier games that happened this past week, and just discuss some of the stat lines. And we're actually going to get Stuntman's thoughts because he's actually doing fantasy football. I've never done that before, but it's something that I might be interested in. The best that I could come up with was watching the league and seeing how that worked. It's absolutely hilarious show, by the way. But we're
Yep.
gonna get some of the stuntman's thoughts, opinions, and he might just give us some insight into actually working with a fantasy draft. All right. So with that, first thing we're actually going to pay attention to is the team with which I have an abusive relationship with, which is the Dallas Cowboys. All right. So let me check this out. So Dallas was in prime time this past Sunday, and it was against the Eagles, and it was in Philadelphia. So we find out my Cowboys on national TV were getting blown out by 20 before halftime. They try to make more of a game of it towards the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, but alas, we still lose by 9 to the Eagles. So, as far as the stat line we're looking at, Cooper Rush attempted 38 passes, completed 18 of them, 181 yards, one touchdown. But big thing we're noticing is three interceptions, right? And it's weird because it actually diminishes how well Ezekiel Elliott actually played. I mean, he had 81 yards on 13 carries for an average of 6.2. And even we're looking at Tony
Yep.
Pollard having an average of 4. And even when they ran it, I guess, twice with CeeDee Lamb, he actually averaged 4.5 yards as well. I mean, on top of this, we're looking at conversely how well Jalen Hurts played. I mean, he only attempted 25 passes, completing 15 of them, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the glaring theme that we're noticing here, no interceptions. Uh, the Eagles ran roughshod over my Dallas Cowboys. I know that they're not the greatest when it comes to their rush defense, but it really got exposed. I mean, look at this: 71 yards for Miles Sanders, 27 yards for Jalen Hurts because of the run play option that they had going on. You even had Kenneth Gainwell have 25 yards as
Yep.
well. I mean, they just ran completely roughshod over my Cowboys. And the biggest thing that I noticed was that Micah Parsons was barely in this game as far as making an impact. I mean, what, no sacks, which was, you know, almost
Huge.
completely out of character for him. Very huge. So, with that, I wanted to ask the stuntman. I know that you pretty much either saw the highlights of the game, saw the stat lines, and the biggest thing that everyone was saying was that Dak wasn't even in this game. So I will say, given that, did the Eagles win it based off of Jalen Hurts' play in their defense, or was it mainly because Dallas did not have their starter in Dak Prescott?
So no, man, it was definitely because the Eagles, they took care of the ball, obviously, no turnovers,
Okay.
and then and that's what the Cowboys have doing the last 4 games. They hadn't turned the ball over, and they're playing fantastic defense. Getting turnovers.
Fair.
So I mean it, and you know what? It was just going to be a really hostile environment, anyways, because Philly is a hard place to play, and
Okay.
that was Cooper Rush's first big test. So I mean, he
Indeed.
was really in a snake pit, and another reason why the Eagles had a good running offense is because they were the way they were playing Michael Parsons. They weren't going up and blocking him. They were doing the run
I
pass option, and they were giving
okay.
this guy the option to go after him. And it's almost like Jalen Hurts could read his mind. And like
Okay.
he knew when to pass it or when to hand it off or when to keep. I mean, he played a great game. And
Yeah, he did.
and
Okay.
and you know what? I think the thing about it is Parsons was really aggressive, and I think towards like middle part of the game, he was kind of like he was going, but he was kind of second guessing on what was going on, just because the run pass option was working so well. But man,
Right.
and that really took him out of his game because the sacks is what keeps those stats going and keeps that defense going. So him not making any plays and him not being a big factor is really what brought down the Dallas Cowboys defense as a whole. You know what I mean? And it was, I mean, and it was this the silly interceptions. Like if he would have taken care of the ball just a little bit longer, but what can you expect from a you know a backup quarterback who only has 5 games under his belt?
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, overall, he did a good job, but Eagles had a great game plan for them, and they played it to a T.
Well, the other
But
thing I was going to ask is that, I mean, Cooper Rush attempted 38 passes. I mean, I hadn't seen him attempt over 25 in any of the 5 starts. So
yep,
I'm trying to figure out, what you're saying is, how many times did they actually have to, what was the change that made them throw the ball that much if they knew that the
they were
formula was
down
the
by
fact that he
20.
doesn't?
It's because they were down by 20. They couldn't
Okay.
run the ball, so they had to hurry up, keep the time on the clock, get the ball downfield and throw. So that's the main reason they kept throwing. I'm sure if they would have been down 10, 13 points by half, they would have steadily still kept with the running game. But since they were down by 20, they had to throw the ball, and it worked for a while. They were in the game. I mean, they were down by 3 at one point, but it's
Right.
Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has a lot of weapons, and he knows how to use them. And he's a really good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Um, I mean, I knew that Devontae Smith was going to be dangerous when they first drafted him, and then getting AJ Brown on top of that was ridiculous. Dallas
well,
Goddard is solid, and Miles
Dallas Goddard
Sanders
is
will gash
solid
you.
tight
Yeah,
end.
that's what I
You know,
figured. When the
and you know what?
Go ahead.
Miles Sanders has been a real surprise because he's. I
Really?
wasn't expecting him to play this well this season, but man, he's really running the ball. But a part of that is also their offensive line is really good. Their offensive line is really, and
True.
they don't have a
True.
bunch of big names, man. They just got a bunch of dudes that'll grind it out and then
Well, I mean, they
punish you
got
for 4 quarters.
yeah. I mean, outside of what Kelsey and Lane Johnson, like it's nothing, no one that I would recognize, but
Yeah,
they credit to Nick Sirianni because they had a great scheme. It's like, well,
Sirianni.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised. Yeah, I was surprised that none of these other teams have actually thought about doing that. Maybe they don't have a running back quarterback tandem that's as good as the Eagles. It's just I would have thought that Cincinnati Bengals would have tried that. The Rams would have tried something. Well, I'm not sure Stafford's that mobile, but
that's
you
not.
know,
You know what? That's not really. So the whole thing is that's not the Bengals game. You know, Joe Burrow wasn't a run option guy. You know, he did a little bit in Louisiana in LSU, but he'd rather throw the ball. And Joe Mixon isn't that kind of runner. He's a north south. He's not one of those
a dash.
uh,
Okay,
dashers. You know he'll run you over. He won't juke you out of your shoes. And Miles Sanders and then Gainwell, they're small, they're fast, they're quick. Yeah,
yeah, little scat backs.
they have the right players for the right offense that they're running.
Okay,
But you
what
know
was
what? I
go
think
ahead.
that also that Cowboys did show that they can still compete being down 20 with a backup quarterback and still at one
That
point
is fair.
winning the game, almost
That,
winning the game. You know what I mean? They were back into it.
well, then I ask you this: if Dak is playing that game, do the Eagles win?
No. Oh,
Okay,
if
that's
that
fine.
is game, do the Eagles win? Yes. Yes. Eagles do still win because that defense was,
Really?
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the home field advantage, and I think Jalen Hurts is still like killing it, especially at home. I don't think it's just so hard because Dak, he has so much potential, and you would like to think that he's a lot better than Cooper Rush, but it was almost like looking into a mirror when they played. Obviously, with the smart throws, the running the ball, the same game plan they had for Dak, they were using for Cooper Rush. They were just being safer with Cooper. But I think Dak just needs to get his confidence back because he wasn't playing very well
He
before
was
he
not.
got hurt. He wasn't playing
Fair
very
point.
well. Neither was the offensive line. I mean, they're struggling, but it's a long season. They got man, they're still in it. There's a three-way tie in the NFC East, or a three-way fight in the NFC East. So it's going to be a long season for them. So they'll have to figure it out.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we're going based on projections, who do you actually see winning the NFC East at this point? Because Giants are looking pretty decent. Everyone knows what the Commanders are, or more importantly, what they are not. And
Yeah.
then it's like it's be turning into the NFC beast now. So I mean, given that, who do you actually have winning the division?
So I think so. The Eagles have like one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. So I think essentially at the end they will win. They could actually go 10-0 before their streak ends. I mean, they have a really favorable schedule for them. So I mean, they have a good chance of winning. The only thing is that I don't feel like if you compare them to the AFC teams, I don't see them going and winning the Super Bowl. It's just that
Right.
the Bills defense with their lockdown corners and their
And Von
linebackers,
Miller. Oh my God.
dude,
Yeah.
there is just too good. And then also, even in a shootout, I'd like to see him go head to head with Mahomes, just to see how that works out because some people can't compete, you know,
Well,
for
that's what I
four
was going to
quarters.
ask. Is if Jalen Hurts only threw 155 yards? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You
Yeah,
As good
they
as your
ran the
defense is, you
ball.
let
Well, they ran for over
what
200 yards, right? How many yards did they run? They ran for a lot
close
of yards.
close to like 150, 160 maybe,
150. Yeah. So
maybe a little
that's
bit
almost
more.
300 yards of total offense. So 150. running the ball, and then it's really good balance. When you think about it, and that's what you really want. You don't have to throw the ball 50 times. You don't have to run the ball 100 times. You can play an easy balance. I mean, like I said, the offense that they're running is perfect for the players that they have on the team. You know what I mean? But I just don't feel like, I mean, going against the Bills. I mean, you watch the Bills, man. They're destroying teams. They're destroying, and then they beat the
They
Chiefs
beat
pretty soundly
Kansas City.
Sunday.
Very true. Very,
Hmm.
very true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. Well, with that, guys, we've put the Eagles Cowboys debate to rest on that one. So next up, I'm sorry, man, I gotta do this to you. But I gotta bring up your
Mhm.
Packers because oh my god,
Mhm.
oh man, I
Terrible,
didn't
man.
want to have to do this, but I wanted to see what you thought about this on here.
I
Here we
think,
go.
yeah.
So we're
Um,
on here. So we're looking at this. All right. So you guys played the Jets this past week, and you only put up 10 points.
so
Compared to, man, the Jets putting up 27 on you guys, right? So I'm looking at
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers attempted 41 passes, completing 26 of them, 246 yards with only one touchdown. And I think Jordan Love came in there for some relief there. Rushing, you guys mustered maybe 60 yards on here. And then most
terrible.
reception yards was Robert Tonyan for
Yeah,
like
the
what?
tight end. He had
Ooh,
12. Oh my god. He had 12
12
receptions.
targets? I
Yeah,
got 10
12. He had
receptions
12
for 90
targets.
yards.
He had
12
12 targets.
targets,
Yeah.
12 targets, 10 receptions, 90 yards. And if we look on the other end and check out what the Jets did,
Zach
Zach
Wilson
Wilson
didn't throw.
didn't even
Yeah.
throw any no touchdowns, no interceptions though.
Yeah, he
Uh
didn't play that shit.
wow. So I mean,
The
so
defense,
okay.
the
Go
defense
ahead.
is what did it for him.
Well, I was gonna ask that because if I look at this, we've got the Packers being ranked by Bleacher Report as 18th at 3-3. So Stuntman, I have to ask, man, who's to blame for the short start of, or the very not the short start, but the slow start of the Packers? Are we
You,
looking more at who are we looking at for the, if you have to place blame, who is to blame for your team performing so poorly?
so the blame squarely goes on Aaron Rodgers. Like it goes, I see, I watch a lot of TV, a lot of sportscasters saying, hey, it's not, there are a lot of quarterbacks that miss OTAs and they don't go and do a bunch of training camp, and cool, that's fine, whatever. This is a two-time MVP, the reigning MVP. You
Back to
just
back
lost your best,
MVP,
you
right?
just lost your best receiver. You have what, three rookies that would, you got Watson, Dobbs, and then there's somebody else. You got two rookies for sure,
Okay.
and you're not at OTAs. You're not there. And I've seen, he's not his job to coach these guys up. True, that's fine. But dude, if you want to get a good team and have that, and if you watch on the field, there's no cohesiveness. These guys are not running the right routes. There's no, I and obviously he was with Devontae Adams was for so long, and they could
Yeah.
really read each other's minds. It's not the same anymore. And the offensive line is not very good. The defense is trying to hold up the best they can. And you know what? The thing about Green Bay is what they used to do. They used to do a lot of screens, a lot of counters, a lot of cool stuff that would like,
Mm,
help the running backs. A lot of uh, you know, behind the line passes. And they've kind of just stopped it. They're running straight north and south, and their offensive line isn't good enough to do that. To just roll somebody over. They need to start switching it up. And obviously, and you know what? Rogers is playing like shit. Roger, Roger, but that's what happens when you don't go to training camp, you miss OTAs, and then you ask for a ton of money and don't produce. You Man, and the
agree.
whole thing was they were willing to offer Devontae a lot of money, but you can't
Mm,
afford, a high price receiver with all the money that Aaron Rodgers is making. It's still Green Bay still considered a small market, so
agreed.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
And it's definitely not Vegas.
Yeah, and again, it's not Vegas. Yeah, you know, and regardless of how close you guys are, if they were friends or how long they like each other, made money talks, man. You know. But they do definitely miss each other. I'll tell you that right now. Because Devontae
I was
Adams,
gonna say, yeah.
he's struggling with Derek Carr. You know, I was
Well,
wrong
that's the
about
weird.
Derek.
I was like, I thought, and they were college teammates.
Yeah,
So you're like,
sure were.
man, yeah.
And if
I
you
guess
watch
that's
film,
go ahead.
if you
Go
watch
ahead.
film, man, they were awesome.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were
Well,
really good
yeah.
together.
Yeah, well, I was gonna. That's what I was trying to. Well, then, I mean, if you're placing this on Aaron Rodgers, what blame do you actually place on Coach Matt LaFleur for not making any halftime adjustments, in-game adjustments, or coordinating against the defense you're playing?
It's really hard. It's really hard to change a game plan when the run game's not ever working. You can't catch a pass, and the offensive line is playing bad. The defense has kept them in most of these games, and that's because they get turnovers and they get good field position. It's hard to change a game plan when nothing's working, and it's both. You got two solid running backs, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Agreed.
Dude,
Agreed.
there's so much stuff you can do with these guys, and it's just like, well, we'll just run one guy one way and one guy the other way. You got to switch it up. It's pretty frustrating watching these games, man.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say, I mean, because well, the highlights that I keep saying that they have on defense is like Aaron Rodgers getting sacked, and I was like, well, I know that he's holding on the ball probably way longer than he should, but the thing is, he's trying to wait for receivers to get open that he's not on the same page with, and the offensive line isn't great, but he has to get rid of the ball. But I mean, you don't have enough time to do that, so it just looks like it's very chaotic, and he's trying to make something happen out of nothing. It seems like he's doing too much, and
the
I'm just
most
saying, well,
frustrating
hey,
thing is the most frustrating thing is this guy signed for 3 more years. He's making so much money. Like at the end of this contract, it's going to be like, what in the hell were we thinking? You know,
I, I don't. I mean, it's a weird thing for me is the fact that you have more years on your left on your contract and you're being disgruntled. I know that he's an MVP, but you guys wind up in the same situations the last 3 years. It's
I
down to the
cannot believe
wire.
they lost at home. They lost at home last year to the
That's embarrassing.
49ers in a
That's
fucking
embarrassing.
snowstorm. This was their this was their weather, their home field, and they lost it to a team in California that doesn't even play in the snow.
That was
Unbelievable.
embarrassing. That's embarrassing. I mean,
Unbelievable.
at least you guys didn't melt down and not know how to spike the ball in time. Okay, because they played us the week after that, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
right.
funny, man. It's not. I don't like
Yeah,
talking about that. I don't like talking about it. But yeah,
terrible,
so that
man.
we'll have to see how this goes. I mean, at the end of this year, if they wind up underperforming, and let's say they miss the playoffs because Minnesota's pretty good this year,
Yeah, the
Chicago's
division is not
so-so,
there. The
right?
the
So I
Vikings
will
are for
say,
real.
I will say, if you wind up missing the playoffs this year, do you hold on to Coach Matt LaFleur or do you go
Oh,
elsewhere?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think
You have
he
to.
I think, man, as much as I hate to say it, I think they want to bring in Jordan Love sooner than later. You know what I mean? Es-
I think that too.
Especially if Rodgers keeps playing like this, and if his thumb is really hurt, because he was pulling on that thumb this past Sunday. So I don't know what's going on
Really.
with that.
Oh boy, here we go. It's everyone having. It's weird. Everyone's having hand issues this year. It's like you said. There's Aaron Rodgers. There's Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott all having hand issues.
Yeah,
So that's
thumb.
gonna be interesting to watch. So, and especially if it's the thumb of your actual throwing hand, you have to maintain the grip, the velocity. It can definitely affect your pattern, your throws,
Dude,
and
they
the
said that
actual
Dak
looks.
has
But
7 screws in his hand. He has 2 plates and 7 screws. That's unbelievable.
which is, I mean, what's weird because I think they were saying it's almost at like the base joint of
It's at
his
the base,
thumb.
yeah, base of his thumb. Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, man, look, dude, wear the damn sleeve. When y'all play Detroit, please wear that sleeve. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, I can use without. No, put the sleeve on, sir. All right, keep that thing intact. Right. So this is actually going to wind us moving us to our last topic that we'll cover today, and we're actually going to be covering what you call it. Actually, be covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know that they actually wind up playing Pittsburgh, and they were in Pittsburgh this past weekend, and
Yeah.
they lost to the Steelers, 18-20. And I believe that was against what I think Kenny Pickett actually had a concussion. He was in the protocol, so you
Mhm.
actually had Mitchell Trubisky
Mitch
take over for
Trubisky. Yeah.
him. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up some of the stats on this one because
Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty like I don't know how this is gonna work out for you guys. But let me show you the stat line on here. So if we're looking at just Tom Brady playing, right? Attempted 40 passes, completed 25, 243 yards, only one touchdown. As far as receiving, I don't even think that Julio played this game. Uh, top receptions
He,
were from Chris
he's been hurt
Godwin.
since after game one.
It's still the hamstring, right?
Yeah, the same
Yes, yeah.
hamstring.
Hamstring for 5 weeks. So you had Chris Godwin, you had Mike Evans, you had Leonard Fournette. So I mean, you had Russell Gage. I mean, Chris Godwin had 95 yards on 6 receptions. Mike Evans had 42 yards on 4 receptions. So it seems like everything would be there. It's just that the only thing that kind of confounds things is the fact that Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, got married I think it was the Friday before the game on Sunday. Tom Brady was at the wedding, and he actually wound up going from New York to Pittsburgh, taking his own plane to get to the game in Pittsburgh, but wound up missing the Saturday walkthrough of the game. And on top of that, you've got the sound snippet of him just laying into his offensive line about how poorly they're playing. He comes back and says, "Oh, I'm trying to fire them up. Get everyone in the mood for the game to actually come back." So, question opposing to you is seeing all these stats, knowing this, who's more of to blame for them Tampa Bay losing? Is it just a poor plan against the Pittsburgh Steelers, or does it have anything to do at all with Tom Brady missing Saturday's walkthrough because he was attending Robert Kraft's wedding that Friday night?
So before I answer your question, the most upsetting thing that I've heard is the fact that Robert Kraft at like 80 years old is getting married. Why, dude? Why? Just, just, just don't. Just don't. That's the most upsetting thing I've heard in weeks. Like, dude, she doesn't
Hey,
love you. This isn't love.
Ro- Robert Kraft
Just
had to take
don't.
off them Air Force Ones. He's like, I'm like Big Pun, don't want to be a
Dude,
player no more.
I'm like, dude, just do your massages and just be happy. What are you
Hey,
doing?
hey man, he was like, Kraft can't be out in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
That's the most upsetting thing I've heard. Exciting. Okay,
Oh man,
moving
go ahead.
moving on. But you know what? The thing about it is, like you said, they did have the receivers. Mike Evans. Mike Evans was only targeted 4 times this game. So Mike Evans, well, Chris Brait, the tight end, he ended up leaving with an injury. But they
Okay,
still had Fournette. They still had Rashad White. I mean, they had their weapons. The thing is Brady was not there. And it's a big deal because he's the leader of the team. And, it's like still showing this guy special treatment. He's above the team.
sure.
And here's the whole deal, man. Like, what's the point of what? I mean, I know he said earlier this year he's got a bunch of shit going on, blah, 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 this and that. But hey, you decided to come back. You retired. And my whole thing was he should have stayed retired. It's too much. It's overkill. You have nothing
Yeah.
else to prove to anybody.
Anybody,
Nothing.
yeah,
He's got a sweet TV deal right when he retires. Like you
dude.
don't need to do
10 years, $300 million. Oh my god.
dude, you don't need any of it. How much of that do you think Giselle's gonna get?
Well, that's the weird thing. She's worth $400 million. I just want to be
Yeah,
like, yo, TMZ. I want to hear the divorce proceedings. I if
dude.
I know you don't
It's
ask top for spousal support. I'm just like, bro, she was worth $400 million when y'all met, so she was worth more
dude,
money than you were. It's like I was like,
crazy.
I don't want to be like if you're the goat. I want to know if you're going to be the goat of petty.
Yeah, it's just it's too much, man. He wasn't there, and you could tell that he was off. He's not, dude. He's not 35 years old. He's not even 37 years old. He's 45. Dude.
45.
He's he's old. You need to have that walkthrough. You need to have the extra preparation, the rest. I'm sure he was having a bunch of drinks on Friday and Saturday, which he probably usually doesn't do prepping for a game, or maybe he does. I don't know, but the rhythm, the whole everything was off, you know. And if you want to do that stuff on the weekends, be retired. Just be a dad. Go to weddings. This is what 40-year-old men do. We go to weddings. We go to birthday parties. We go on vacation. Do that. Don't
Bad life.
try to have. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? You're trying to be a full time NFL player, but hey, you know what? I'm Tom Brady. I'm the GOAT. I kind of get these, and yeah, he's earned it. But after a while, once your team starts losing to the fucking Steelers, you know, hey, something's got to give. And I think a lot of it is that so I watch a lot of sports TV, and I watch all kinds of announcers, and I think the only person I've seen that's been brutally honest about Tom Brady is Shannon Sharp. He
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and
I'm
he
definitely a FS1 guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Undisputed is
the,
great. Yeah.
the FS1 guy, and he said it just plain and simple, dude. He's playing like garbage, and this is the problem, and this is the problem that I have with like Brady being in the league for so long is that he's still him being in the league so long. The other announcers and people on television aren't ready to let him go. They want to keep him in that top tier quarterback,
Mhm.
and it's no longer the case. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a young man's game. This is Mahomes. This is Josh Allen. This is Jalen Hurts. This is no longer Tom Brady's world.
No.
It's not at
And
all, and that's the
I,
problem.
well,
Because
I
I
was
think
gonna say it.
everybody wants him to be that guy, and he's just not anymore.
Fair. Well, I mean, at this point, it's getting to be that we know for us now, if we remember, Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady was the game you wanted to watch. They only met maybe once a year, and it was in the playoffs, or twice a year, which was like the big Sunday night game, and then the divisional round of the playoffs.
That's
It was
right.
usually to get you. It was either to get to the AFC Championship or to the Super Bowl.
That's
And but
right.
the thing is like, yo, that's not that anymore. The
Mm-mm.
changing of the guard was when Tom Brady beat Mahomes, but Mahomes is like, I'm coming. And then
Yep.
the next year, Mahomes beat Garoppolo to get the Super Bowl. And it's like, no, 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 that's the coronation right there. Now we're trying to figure out who is. I'm guessing if Brady is more or less not Peyton Manning, but the way his mind works and he can make his checks and reads. You say he's a Peyton Manning. So like, who's supposed to be the Tom Brady, the guy that can challenge that? And you're like,
So
oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
And we look
it
at
was Mahomes. And here is what Tom Brady did, and no one really even like considered it. Dude, he beat the guy they're already comparing to the GOAT, which is himself.
right.
He beat the
Yes.
guy head to head in the Super Bowl. Not only he beat him, but he played the worst game he's ever played in his career. So you've
Right.
literally beaten the guy they're already trying to compare to. And
Right.
so,
Nothing
at
left
the
to
end of
prove.
his career, no matter what he does, whether he wins 7 or 6 or whatever, they're going to say, "Hey, well,
Come on.
when he
You
played
he
Tom
lost.
Brady head to head, how'd it go? Tom Brady won, played the
Right.
worst game. Still
Right.
he's going to edge him out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
After that.
There's just nothing
Yeah.
to prove.
Yeah, after that, I'd have been out. Like, I'm done. I beat the guy that y'all said I was better than. Like, I signed a 3-year contract because I thought I could win one within that time period. I won it, so I don't really need to do this anymore. That's it. I won. I feel
But
like
if
I can play till I'm 45. But the thing is, what sucks about being that old is realizing that's how old you are.
I think
Because
this is the cliff that he finally fell off of. Because I mean, it's been coming for years. People have been saying, "Oh, he's going to fall off a cliff. Don't worry about it." 3, 4 years ago, and he never did. Now I feel like he's got all the stress going on, this outside pressure. The team's not very good. There's all this drama surrounding the team. Like, what last year when you deal with Antonio Brown and all the other shit you had to deal with, like, having Bruce Arians step down after you come back from retirement. I mean, that just seems like a bunch of like high school drama, like you just don't need, and it's never
exactly.
happened. And it would have never happened with the Patriots. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
no. I mean, I think the thing that you actually are highlighting is the fact is the clip is the fact that just like we're in our you're 40, I'm in mid 30s. The thing is that you don't realize you're aging until it happens. Like you start limping and someone asks what happened, you're like, yo, I sneezed too hard.
yeah.
And they laugh and you're like, no, no, dude, if you sneeze too hard over the age of 30, you will throw your back out.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
So it's like, well, everyone's saying, oh no, at the rate that he's going, he could play till he's almost 48, 49, or
Mm-mm.
50. And you're like, no, at a certain point it's going to hit you. When it does, it's going to hit you all at once.
And here's the problem is like this game, football is not meant for you to play for 30 years. It's just not.
Not
It's
at all.
not good for your body. I mean,
Mm-mm.
granted, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. If you're good enough to make the NFL and you're good enough to keep playing, keep playing. I'm
Right.
fucking 5'2", 200 pounds, fat, short, and slow. you know, I never had the talent. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you can be an NFL, be the NFL. But it's just like you have to let go. You have to know when it's ready. Like it's overkill. Like I said, a lot of these announcers and they want to still hold him up at this high, quarterback rating and prestige quarterback. Like, yeah, he was a couple of years ago. For the last 22, 23 years he's been playing,
Yeah.
he's the best. Hands
Right.
down, can't argue about it. The best. Now,
Exactly.
hey, dude, it's over. It's over. Like
All right.
it's coming fast. And you know what the worst part is? Is like there's no
What?
backup for the Buccaneers. I mean, they went all out for Tom Brady. You
They did.
know,
They did.
yeah, they went all out for him. And I mean, even Gronk came out of retirement just to play with him. I mean, it's incredible.
Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
he
Agreed.
came out of retirement to play. And then I guess I mean it helped that Antonio Brown was trying to get into the league and make a name for himself. So he was willing to act on his best behavior for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, which he could barely do anyways, which is
That's
fine,
that.
whatever. So
That's
he was
that's that
able,
employee. That's that employee probation period he was on.
yeah, yeah, let me get these 90 days and then let me join that union so I can act a fool. It's like,
Agreed.
but also,
Agreed.
the defense he had when he won that championship in Tampa was really good. That I can't remember what his name is, but his last name, he's a linebacker, White. I think it's David White or something. I don't know what,
Okay.
dude. Or Dave. I can't. I think it's 55 or 54, dude. The dude's a monster, man. But that
Yeah.
secondary is also really good. I mean, and it's still the same guys, but it's just not the same, man.
Everyone's
They
a
don't
year
have
or two
that
old.
fire, dude.
Everyone's they're 2 year old, 2 years older.
Hmm. And then
That rate.
the league's getting faster, the league's getting better, and these quarterbacks are just getting even more dude. Watching Mahomes and Josh Allen play, dude, they're ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, Mahomes is throwing no look freaking sidearm throws like it's nothing. Like you think you could go out and do that. Like it makes it look so easy, and then you throw a real football as hard as you can. You're like, oh my God, this is crazy. How's he even doing this?
Exactly. Exactly. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad
man.
we actually found on that one. That's actually a really good segment to kind of end things on. I know that we'll probably talk, at some point a little bit more in depth in
I don't know
in
why you did it, Robert Kraft. I hope he
you said
signed that
what?
prenup. Hope he signed that prenup.
Holla, we want prenup. We want prenup. Yeah. Guys, I think at some point later on in the season, as we go more in depth, we'll talk more a little bit more on fantasy football because that's one of the things that you are into, and I kind of want to hear more about how that works. That's something that I'm not really, well versed in, but I definitely want to have you back to talk about that. But anyway, wait, are you on the sticks? Are you on Madden? I know you play a lot of
So
Call of Duty, but do you do Madden?
no. So
Oh,
have you ever played Madden online?
bro,
It's a very
the
toxic.
last,
It's a very toxic situation. And I'll tell you what, if you're not very good, dude, these kids will fucking run you offline. It's not funny. Dude, they will make you cry. They will talk shit the entire time. Dude, the video game world is no longer a fun place to be at, especially if you're not very good. And I tell you this from
bro.
experience, man. They will make you pay that you decided to play online with these dudes. Everybody wants to be a streamer, dude. Everybody wants a good clip to put on YouTube. And I'm telling you, you don't want to be that clip. Don't be that YouTube clip. Just say no. Just play the computer. Just do the championship, dude. Do it. Just don't. Dude,
Oh damn.
it, the Warzone, dude, I'm telling you, the Warzone lobbies and Call of Duty is
Oh, it's
the
ridiculous. I've heard it's
it's
ridiculous.
the worst. Dude, it's the most
Bro,
toxic place on the planet. Is the fucking Call of Duty lobby.
bro, I will turn into an old man overnight if I hear a 12-year-old trying to trash talk to me like, "Now, young man, you don't
Bro,
make me
dude,
come
I,
over there,
I,
young
I
man. I will
block and
find where you
report
live."
people all the time. I'm an old man. I'm blocking and reporting the entire time. This dude called me a stupid fucker. Okay, fucking block, reported. Hate speech. It's crazy, dude. It's a crazy world, you know. But I can't wait
Oh
for I
man,
can't wait for October 28th when after I come back from
bro.
San Antonio, and
Yes,
then I can come back and play the new Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Modern Warfare.
bro. The commercial already has me hype as hell, and I haven't played Call of Duty in a while. Like, I'm hyped for
It's
people
fun,
that
man.
love playing it, bro. You're gonna have to let me know how the gameplay is. Kind of do a mini review of it because I know you're about that life. And for anyone that is a gamer, Stuntman, can you shout out your gamer tag?
Yes, Stuntman 0311, Stuntman underscore 0311. Hit me up on PS5 on some Call of Duty.
Stuntman underscore 0311.
That's right, 0311. Yeah.
My man said, "Come at him in sticks. Just don't play with him in the lobby because he will block and report you."
That's right. That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Anyway,
I'm
guys,
very
this
sensitive.
this is LeftEye E.G.O and the Stuntman. Thank you guys for joining us on the
Peace.
Sportsball cast, and we'll check y'all later.